You really don't work 40 hours a week, you work more. Normally when people hear this or think of this, they think back to what the productivity gurus say. You actually don't work 40 hours because you spend time just mucking around, having long water breaks, talking with co-workers, simply just not getting work done. This video is different because my viewpoint is focused on personal finance and mainly in this video on time. So when I'm referring to this, I'm referring to those unpaid hours. Let's say you have to wait 15-20 minutes for a coworker. Let's say you have to stay behind at work to get a project done. Let's say you get some work handed to you as colleagues on leave or something along those lines, and then you get additional stress, which causes you to work more indirectly, if not just take on more stress. These are what I'm referring to. And the concept I'm trying to bring in this video is the idea of life setup, because life setup is far more important than income. And here's why. Let me give you guys a very good and straightforward example. Let's say there are two people, this person A and then this person B. Person A earns $1,000 after tax per week, and they work 50 weeks in a year, so they get 50K, assuming 2 weeks off, and they work 37.5 hours. And the reason being 5 unpaid 30-minute lunches. So the hourly rate essentially works out to be $27 rounded, which is not too bad. But now let's take a look at person B. Person B earns $1,500 a week after tax, which equates to $75K if they work 50 weeks. And let's say they're also working 37.5 hours. So they have 5 unpaid 30-minute lunches. But if we slightly change the scenario, let's say they're working 2 extra hours indirectly, right? So they were working 37.5 hours originally, now they're working 47.5 hours because they're working 2 hours indirectly every day, 2 times 5, 10. So their hourly rate is now $32, which is not too shabby, but the caveat is that there's only a $5 difference between person A and person B. But if you factor in the year, it will equate to a 25K difference in after tax, which is quite huge. What I'm trying to illustrate or visualize to you guys is that, let's say the next position above in line, because not many people job hop, many people generally come with the corporate ladder. Let's say, the next position in line is a manager, let's say of a retail store. The manager is earning 10 to 15K more, right? Before tax. If they do the same thing as what person B did, they would literally be earning the same as a team member, if not less, not to manage the jump in responsibilities. That's what I'm trying to illustrate. Another factor with this is just the skill difference. Like the example I gave with person A and person B. So 54K before tax is around 72. So let's say it's around 70, just for easy numbers. So 50K before tax is 70, let's go with that. And then 75K after tax, that's in the 90s. Like the person's earning 90K, around 90s before tax. That's a lot. So imagine the skill jump between the two, and then there's only a 25K difference. That isn't too big of a difference if you conceptualize it like that manner. Besides something directly relating work, how about traveling and commuting? That is a key thing that no one factors in. Because sure, like you'll say we work, 40 hours, including, whatever you do, so 9 to 5. But what about the commute? Most people, the average commute is around 1 hour and a half. So if you work it personally, for me, it's like an hour. But for people that work in the city, it tends to be around that. So let's say it takes you an hour to get there and an hour to come back. That's 2 hours gone. That's boom, already a 10-hour day. And let's assume you also, you had to stay back a bit, you were doing something, then it adds up. These small things gradually add up. So instead of 8, you literally just did 10. And another thing within that, I'd say, is that some people are like, I drive, it's no stress. I get there in 30 minutes opposed to 1 hour. And for them, I also have a counter argument, because I've been really deeply thinking about this. Let's say you do get there 30 minutes rather than an hour. Is it worth driving? Because you're also spending money on fuel. You got to remember that. And you're also wearing down your car a bit. That's just the baseline thing. But the key thing is you can't do anything. You have to be alert. You can also get tired. You have to be very weary because you're driving on the road and you can't do anything. Opposed to, let's say, on a train, you can practice good habits that you've been delaying. Like you can read books. You can meditate, you can write, you can journal, you can do so many things. You can at least use that time. Yeah, but that obviously a lot of the masses won't do that. They'll just relax, go on the phone, music, something like that. But you still have the option to actually develop your time and make use out of it. So that's a whole nother thing that you guys got to consider. Besides commuting and unpaid hours that can arise due to simply just working a bit more by default, another factor I want you guys to think about is workload and stress. Specifically, let's say your colleague just leaves out of the blue. His workload gets handed to you. You're not getting paid more. Most of the time, you aren't getting paid more. And you're taking more stress. And what that stress does, it spills over to other aspects of your life. You go home, you can't enjoy because you're thinking about work. Oh crap, I forgot to do this. Oh, I've got to report then. How am I going to do this? Yada, yada, yada. You're still in that mindset. And some people argue, well, you're not at work. But I'd say it's living in your head rent-free. Isn't that the side effect? But even excluding the colleague example, let's just say you took a slightly higher paying job, 20K more or something, and you're taking more stress. Is it worth letting it spill over to other aspects of your life? Because sure, you're making more, but it's affecting other aspects of your life where you can't enjoy a proper meal with the family without stressing, without worrying, you can't sleep well, and just all compounds and affects everything. So that's a pretty bad scenario. But I hope I'm explaining to you or emphasizing what I mean. Another example, which is a generalization which I've heard from some of my university friends, is that a lot of people stay in APS 6, which is Australian Public Service pay grade sort of 6. They stay at that level and not move on to EL1 despite there being a 10-15K difference in pay, is because of the responsibilities. They see the 10 to 15K as useless because you're going to work much harder and you'll get so much more responsibilities. Now, it's a generalization. I don't know how much of this is true, but I'm sure many of you guys can relate to this, because sure, you may have gotten a promotion, but what's the point if you suddenly just get like a basket of work over your head? So you're kind of worse off than you were originally. You were better off before. That's one. But to cement what I've said, I've got 3 more examples, which I'll just go very quickly over, and it'll be straightforward. So the first example is, let's say you take a pay cut of 20% from your workplace to work to a new one, which is a 10-minute walk. How good is that? Or like, let's say a 5-minute drive. It makes it so much easier if your commute is negligible. Imagine the time you would have to waste getting ready in the morning, yada yada, doing that. Like, you can literally leave in a lunch break to get your to go home and get some lunch and eat there. That's just one example, I'm just saying. And then you can structure your life there. You can have your gym there, your entertainment stuff there. Everything is close and it doesn't take too much time to travel from A to B. And it just makes your life much more better because you can do so many things that many people wouldn't have done due to commuting. And imagine how much that compounds in a long period of time. A second example I have for you guys, this one's slightly it's clear to me, but it can be slightly unclear. But let's say you take on more workload and stress. The pay hasn't increased, but the job is completely remote. So you get to spend time with your loved ones, the kids, the family. So that's what you're doing. You're taking more stress and work, but you're getting a payoff that you get to spend time with the kids, and it actually improves your relationship because you're at home more. So obviously there isn't a clear-cut answer. Some people would not like more stress just to work at home. They'd rather just go into the office, but it's all about personal preference, and that's what I'm trying to eliminate. So my final example is, let's say you take a 20% pay cut as well, and you go to a new workplace, but they're not very fussy about you sort of leaving work. So they're very flexible. Let's say you don't want to work. You just don't work that day, or those 2 days. This would be good for people that aren't too worried about cash. They don't spend too much. I mean, they've got money and stuff saved up, so they're fine, but they're not too worried about just making money endlessly. They rather live in that moment or that time. This could be used for younger people or just people that just have cash. So it really depends on your personal preference and values, because that truly dictates what you'd want in the end. Because I personally would like that second scenario where I'm working from home, taking a bit more stress, but with my family. So overall, I hope this empowers you and this gives you a perspective. And I know there'll be someone commenting on the keyboard. It'll be like, "Oh, Mihir, what are you on about? I make 250K a week. I work 60 hours a week, and my kids and my wife really love me." Obviously just a joke, I'm just joking. But yeah, I just want to take this notion out of income being everything. Sure, income is important, but I mean, there's a lot of variables. It's just like the equivalent of basketball. Yeah, sure, shooting is important, but you also got to know how to dribble the ball. You got to shoot from that angle. There's so many things. And I hate it when people focus on one aspect, only one element, when there's so many elements. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it actually makes you do something. It makes you take a step, because so many people I've seen, they're just getting money for the sake of getting money, and then they're sad because they're working hard, and then you know what they do? They spend that money because they think they can get happy by spending money. And if you watch my video I just made on the Hedonic Effect, you'll see why I explained you really don't get happy. You return to baseline of happiness, but it's a bad cycle and a vicious cycle. So I hope this video overall gives you an outline of this, and I hope you improve your life with this. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye.